Mr. President, about my amendment to the minibus appropriations package, House H.R. 6147. Here's the problem. We have a lot of foreign seafood imported into the United States, and some of it is very dangerous. I'm afraid to say a lot of it is very dangerous. I'm unhappy to say that. Our FDA is in charge of making sure that this foreign seafood is safe. It spends $11.9 million a year to do that. My amendment would give the FDA an additional $3.1 million, and here's why it's important. Last year in the United States, we imported $21.5 billion worth of seafood. Not million, $21.5 billion. Now, the FDA is supposed to inspect it to make sure that it's safe before you eat it. And the FDA does the best it can. But they're only able, with the small amount of money, relatively speaking, that it has, to test a very small sample, 2%. So 98% of the foreign seafood coming in is not even tested. When it's tested, the FDA often finds that it contains salmonella, it contains listeria, it contains dirt, and it contains illegal drugs like antibiotics. What does that mean? Well, aside from, if you eat enough of this stuff, aside from the fact that you could grow an extra ear or glow in the dark, if you eat enough of it, then you develop a resistance to antibiotics. So if you eat bad seafood, particularly shrimp, full of these antibiotics, and you get sick, you get an infection, maybe an abscessed tooth, and you go to the doctor and the doctor gives you antibiotics, they don't work anymore. Now, Mr. President, remember, we're only examining 2% of all seafood imports. If you run the numbers, you'll see that barely 0.2% of seafood imports are rejected every year. The vast majority, 98%, we're not even checking. This isn't just about public safety, though that's certainly important. It's also about public policy. American shrimpers, let me tell you what they have to compete against. In my state, but in other states. They're being asked to compete with foreign fishermen that are unfairly subsidized by the federal government, that face little to no environmental regulations, little to no quality controls. They fish where they're not supposed to. They ignore international quotas. They pump much of their fish full of illegal drugs, and they don't look out for the health of local ecosystems like our domestic fishermen and fisherwomen do. And the result is dangerous. It's unsafe to the American people, and it's unfair to the American shrimpers who do it the right way. I don't want my family eating it. I don't want my son eating it. I don't want my wife eating it. I don't want my dogs eating it. And to American people who are listening, be careful if you eat it. And that's what my amendment does, Mr. President. With that, I yield the floor.